Hey there, and welcome to Storytime. So, this week's episode and the next two episodes are going to be a little bit different than the usual Storytime because they're not stories from my life, they are stories from three different people that I met in my life and that I lost in my life. So, I'm going to tell you their little story and how they ended up being dead, basically. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little twist in Storytime, and yeah, let's get on with it. So, the first story I'm going to tell you is the story of Thomas. So Thomas was just a regular guy. You know, the kind of guy that, you don't notice him. He's just an average guy. He went to school, he finished school, he got a regular job, and he just, he lived his life. He had this standard 8 to 5 job or 9 to 5 job, I don't know how it's called. And when he got home, he played a little bit of video games, he watched TV, or he went out with friends, and on the weekends he got a little bit wasted and stuff like that. And, he was just an average kind of guy, as I said. He was nothing special in that matter. But there was probably one thing that made him special, and that thing led to his death. And he died when he was 27, so exactly my age now. Kind of a depressing thought, huh? But yeah. So he had this female friend, a girl friend, if you want to call it like that, and she had, this kind of guy on her side. He had a partner, a boyfriend, and it was the kind of guy that just doesn't take no for an answer. He was kind of a stalker. He was very clingy, and he was the kind of guy that threatened to take his own life if she ever left him. I don't know if you know these kinds of guys or girls maybe, but if you know these kinds of guys, they are really horrible and they will be abusive, and he was an abusive guy. He was a real asshole, and she tried to break up with him a couple of times, but he always threatened her and he followed her around all the time. And it was just a horrible time for her. So she had a really, really, really hard time. She actually left her apartment. She just canceled her apartment and went back to her parents, but he still harassed her from there. And it was just horrible. He was stalking her all the time. And of course, she was afraid of him. She was really afraid. And I don't know, it was just a very bad time for her. And so this guy, Thomas, he went up to her and he said, okay, you can stay at my apartment for a couple of days. He doesn't know where I live. You can just, recharge your batteries. You can, I don't know, you know what I mean. He was just like a good friend. She just said, come to my place and relax for a couple of days, get rid of the fear. So she stayed over at his place, and at the beginning everything was fine, but after a couple of days, the ex-boyfriend of hers actually found them. He was just calling around a little bit. Basically today you would go on Facebook and you would have his address. So he found them, and one evening he came to the apartment of Thomas and he knocked at the door. He tried to bang down the door, and he was very, very aggressive, and he shouted and yelled. And, Thomas went to the door and he just told him, go away, leave, or I'll fucking call the cops. But of course, the guy, the first evening I think he left, but on the second evening he brought a crowbar with him, and, he could knock down the door, and he went into the apartment and he had a knife, with him. And of course, he started to yell and to scream, and the girl started to yell and to scream, and she was of course afraid. And Thomas was there, and of course the guy was accusing Thomas of sleeping with his girlfriend. It was total bullshit, but he was just a crazy, jealous bastard. So yeah, they were all screaming, and Thomas tried to get him out of the apartment. And yeah, the guy started to attack Thomas. He went on to him with the knife. He tried to attack him with the knife, and there was a huge struggle. They started to fight, and it just took a couple of minutes, and the girl, was kind of in a shock state. But after a couple of minutes, she recovered. She took something, I think it was a vase or something like that, and she just smashed it over the head of the guy that was, attacking Thomas. And the guy was knocked out cold. He just lay there on the floor. And she looked at Thomas, and Thomas just, dropped to the ground, and he was dead within 1 or 2 minutes. The thing was, when the guy attacked him with the knife, he cut open the main artery in his, how do you call it, in his throat, the main artery there in his neck area. And he lost lots of blood. He was fighting based on adrenaline, basically. But the moment the fight was over and the adrenaline just started rushing out of his body, there was not that much blood left, so he just fell to the ground and he had 1 or 2 minutes to live. And of course, by the time the police and the doctors arrived, there was no way in saving him. He just had lost so much blood and the whole floor was drained in blood. I actually saw the apartment later. It was, it was a horrible sight, but yeah. So yeah, there was no way of saving him. And Thomas died actually saving this girl, if you want to put it like that. And for me, that was that was true heroism. He just stood there. He just defended that girl. And I don't know, she was just a girl, she was just a friend. It was nothing special. She wasn't his girlfriend or his sister or something like that. She was just a normal girl. She was just a friend, just someone he knew. And he stood up for her and he defended her against this guy. And he lost his life because this guy just went mad. I know the guy went to prison for that, but, it's just a little price to pay for a human life. And I don't know. He died a hero's death in my eyes, and I don't know. It's a bad thing. He was a great guy. As I said, he was an average guy, but he was great. He was great to hang out with. And I really miss him sometimes. And as I said, it's a depressing thought that he died at the age of 27. I am 27 now, and yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to think about, that your life could end within a couple of minutes just because some madman decides to end your life, and you can nothing to do to change that. But as I said, he died a hero's death in my eyes, and yeah, I would wish that more people were like him. So yeah, that was the first episode, the story of Thomas. I kind of hope you enjoyed it. I know it's weird to say, but yeah, tell me if you want, part 2 and part 3 of that. And yeah, that was it for this time. I'm iLostLink, signing out.